So for the first race of the Kristianstad race weekend here in southern Sweden, it's Junior Max qualification heat 1, groups A and B, and your lineup is as follows. It's a Polish front row with the 202 of Oli Pilka and the 225 of Jerzy Spinkowicz alongside. Then it's Jules Castro from Belgium in the 206 and Danny Van Dijk, newly with JJ Racing, I believe, in the 256 on row 2. Then it's Marcel Surmach from Poland. Alongside him will be Denmark's Oskar Kristianstad, so 236 and 261. Charlie Wirtz will start on row number 4, but in 7th position, ahead of one of the Dutch contingent that has moved over to be teammates with Mike van Vugt, even though they might not agree with that on the track itself. Flint Schuring, the 216, with Miro Halika from Finland and Gianni Andrisani from Germany completing the top 10. 16, as I said earlier on in this particular qualifying heat, Oskari Soka and Dante Rapagne, row 6. Eliska Babikova and Vigor Hjorvard, who's on home soil this weekend, complete row number 7, with Viktor Obajanek and Leighton Fury. So Poland and South Africa represented there on the back row of the grid. So very soon both Pilka and Spinkowicz will be controlling the pace for the 2x2 side-by-side rolling start formation, customary in Rotax racing circles. Very much a starting procedure that we have here in the Rotax Max Euro Trophy. 7 minutes plus an additional lap to kick-start the action aplenty here in Kristianstad as we await for Spinkowicz to line up alongside Pilka, which he has done now. All 8 rows pretty much in formation. So the race director will get things underway very shortly. Tells them to split into the tram lines. They anticipate the start. Do we go lights out here in Kristianstad? Yes, we do. Off we go into turn number 1. So it's 2x2. Well, Pilka just nipped it past Spinkowicz. Castro already up into fourth position. Third position, as Danny Van Dijk's trying to get up the inside, going through turn 4 in the Belgium as they go over the slight hump. And this can unsettle the carts ever so slightly. But right behind them, what a start from Austria's Charlie Wirtz as we got massive contact. Massive contact on the infield. And I see the 243s there. That's Dante Rapagne. As it's 3 abreast coming into the final sector of the track here. There are positional changes happening hand over fist. But at the moment, Oli Pilka is trying to break the toe of Jerzy Spinkowicz. In 3rd place, that is Danny Van Dijk in the 256. Jules Castro down into 4th. Charlie Wirtz up into 5th now. And the Austrian gets passed up the inside for that position. He's going to have a chance of getting back now. Who is that guy? That is the 219 of Miro Halika, who's running at KMS Europe alongside Leighton Fury. Now, Leighton at the moment, let's see where he is. Well, he's actually up into 7th position. So that's a brilliant start from Leighton Fury from South Africa. More positional changes happening. Wirtz is definitely in the thick of things. And Fury was trying to go up the outside of the Austrian going into the infield part of the track. Ends up having to go wide. Slightest amount of contact there, but they both come through it unscathed. So Wirtz now has a bit of daylight between himself and Miro Halika, I believe. That looks to be... Well, let's just see at the battle at the front, shall we? Pilka trying to break the toe of both Spinkowicz and Van Dijk, who is all over the back of the 225 going through the final corner here. Castro's a bit lonely in 4th, as is Wirtz in 5th position, as the sun continues to beat down here at Kristianstad following the heavy downpour this morning. And Leighton Fury is in 7th position behind Charlie Wirtz. So Wirtz is in 6th position at the minute. My apologies there. But Pilka not getting away. Spinkowicz and Van Dijk are sticking with. And Van Dijk sends it up the inside of Spinkowicz. That's a really nice move from the Dutch driver. So now he takes 2nd from Spinkowicz. So a positional change there. A little bit further down the order. It's still a bit of a stalemate. And it was Flint Schuring that came together with Dante Rapagne a couple of laps ago. 4 minutes and 4 minutes and 32 seconds on the clock plus an additional lap. There we go. Pilka's now starting to break away from Van Dijk. But let's just see how the young Dutchman responds to the Polish Dan Holland racing driver up in front. But he's also got a Polish driver behind him in the form of Unique Racing's Jerzy Spinkowicz. And there are more positional changes happening. And is that, I think Leighton Fury's getting swallowed up there, but he's charging back, and he's got the 261 there of Oskar Kristianstad. And I tell you what, Fury did a great job keeping up the inside. I think Kristianstad might get mugged very shortly by Eliska Babikova, and that has happened as they've gone through turn 2. This is a great midfield scrap here, and someone's gone very wide. That looks to be Kristianstad, I believe. Yep, that is the RSC colours there, RS Competition. More moves up the inside. Oh, that's a great positional change from around about 9th or 10th position. But it's, I tell you what, look at the battle that's happening between Miro Halika and Charlie Wirtz. They are changing positions. Halika goes up the inside of Wirtz. This is allowing Leighton Fury from South Africa to get in striking distance. And he's right on the back bumper of the Austrian in the 251 right now, heading in towards what is effectively the penultimate corner of this lap. Pilka has had a lead of over 0.5 of a second last time from Van Dijk. Now it has gone down to 0.475. Castro is going to have to settle for, I'll tell you what, Wirtz is looking racy. Eliska, well, hang on, that's Vigor Hjorvard up the inside of Milo Harika. So Halika really doing a great job there. It looks like Oskar Kristianstad might have made up a place or two, probably past Vigor Hjorvard there as they go through turn 3. More positional changes. This is an absolutely captivating and mesmerising fight, and it is being led by, well, would you believe this, Leighton Fury from last to 5th position. So the South African now has Charlie Wirtz behind, and that looks to be Miro Halika up the inside of the Austrian. Does he make the move stick? No. Whoa, that was a great move there from Vigor Hjorvard. That was a brilliant move. Stole it, and Charlie Wirtz has dropped at least 2-3 positions there. Make that 4 as they go through towards, and he gets pushed ever so wide there. So Charlie Wirtz dropping all the way down the order. That's not really a good start to the weekend for the Austrian, but he's still got another qualifying heat to go. So the lead is now being dropped by another 10th by Danny Van Dijk, who is hot on the heels of Dan Holland Racing's Ollie Pilka in this first of 3 qualification heats today, before we go into finals day tomorrow here at Kristianstad. But I cannot believe this. There are so many positional changes from Leighton Fury backwards that I can't really keep up with what's happening. I know that Charlie Wirtz really wants to make some moves up. It's nearly 4 abreast coming out of that corner in the mid part of the track itself. That's really, really close racing from the Junior Max division at this initial phase. They need to get themselves as far up the order. Now, Wirtz really needs to capitalise on the 4 battling in front of him. And he's gone round the outside. That's a great move from Charlie Wirtz there. Round the outside. Now, who was that on? Could be, might have, I'm not too sure. I'm just going to pick that out. Looks to be the 201 of Oskari Soka. Unfortunately, Dante de Pagna has retired from this race. So Wirtz now trying to hustle the 251 forward. And in front, he has got Marcel Surmach and Viktor Obajanik. Now, Obajanik started on the same row as Leighton Fury at the beginning of this race. And he's now up into 10th position. So good work from the Polish driver to move up the field. So we have just under 60 seconds remaining. Running order at the moment. It is Pilka from Van Dijk. Schminkovitz in 3rd. Castro looking pretty much resolute that he's going to have to take 4th position. But that's still a good haul of points in the qualifying stages of the second round of the championship. Leighton Fury, 5th position. Oskar Kristianstad, 6th. Vigor Hjorvard, 7th. Miro Halika, Marcel Surmach, Viktor Obajanik running out the top 10. Charlie Wirtz just outside that in 11th position. Gianni Andrisani, Oskari Soka, Eliska Babikova and Flint Schuring. Well, Schuring is still circulating. And Van Dijk has got the gap down to just over 3/10. So the timer will count down. The 17 seconds on the clock remaining as Fury's really having to fend off both Kristianstad and Hjorvard for that 5th place position. So time has expired. Now that's it. Penultimate lap this time. So we'll just see how much closer. I think Danny Van Dijk has really got very close to Ollie Pilka. It could be 2/10 of a second rather than 3/10. Let's see if the Dutchman gets another 10th out of his pace, having switched to JJ Racing with those new colours adorning his 256. It's 0.341, so Pilka's holding on. And he actually went slightly quicker by 3/100ths that time around. The remainder of the field making their way across as Charlie Wirtz crosses the line in 11th. It's a real shame for the Austrian. He started in 7th, got a lightning start up to fourth, fifth position earlier on in the runnings. But we're just a few corners away to have everything completed here. As Furi's really holding on to that fifth position. Kristianstad clearly in the hunt. Whoa, what a move from Vigor Hjorvard. But then Kristianstad strikes back. That's a really good job by those two. Great clean racing. And here we go. That's it. Checkered flag is out. And Olli Pilka starts his weekend off in style, winning in qualification heat number 1, groups A and B for juniors, ahead of Danny van Dijk by nearly half a second. Jerzy Sprinkovits is a further half a second back in third position with Jules Castro, but the drive of this particular heat, I have to say, hands down goes to South Africa's Leighton Fourie, 18th to 5th position. But that's a real good start for Olli Pilka from Dan Holland Racing, the Polish driver in the 2:02, wins qualifying heat, groups A and B, heat 1. And the fastest lap of the race was actually his last lap of the race with a 54.371. Danny van Dijk from the Netherlands with JJ Racing is in second, ahead of Jerzy Sprinkovits in third. Jules Castro in fourth with Leighton Fourie. The Springbok definitely sprung forward in this particular heat, let me tell you, from 18th to 5th, ahead of Oskar Kristianstad, who had a great battle in the dying stages with Vigor Hjorvard from Sweden. Marcel Sermach, Miro Halika, and Charlie Wirtz rounded out the top 10. So Charlie getting back on the on a good foot there to try and get into the top 10, having started 7th but got his way up to 5th in the initial phases. Viktor Oberjanek started on the same row as Leighton Fourie on 15th position, so it was 16th to 5th. My apologies. A gain of 11 positions for Leighton Fourie, with Gianni Andrisani, Oskari Soka, Eliska Babikova rounding out the top 15. Flint Schuring completes the running order, but unfortunately had a collision with Dante Rapagne earlier on, which put them both out of the running, with Rapagne retiring.